Hey yo, what's going on YouTube? This your boy Manny Ezo back again with a new video, and today I didn't know what video I was gonna bring to you guys. There's been some new albums that came out that I've been listening to, but none of them just really moved me enough to do a full album review. So I was like, what can I talk about? And then it happened. So early this morning I was driving down the highway in my car, and something compelled me to listen to the Never Say Never album by Brandy. And when I started listening to this album, it just brought back so many memories. You know, I listened to it throughout the whole day. I did a whole lot of riding today, and you know, once I got, you know, almost done with my day, I realized, I said, wait a minute, this is exactly what I'm going to talk about in my next video. I'm going to talk about Never Say Never by the lovely Brandy Norwood. So sit back and I'm gonna give y'all some of my thoughts. This is, you know, I guess an album flashback. I know I haven't done one in a long time, you know, just because I haven't been compelled to do one, but this is gonna be an album flashback, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about when the album first came out, how did I feel, some of my favorite cuts off the album, a little backstory on the album. So y'all sit back, hang tight, and watch me do my thing. I don't think a lot of people know what this album means to me. If you watch some of my older videos, you will see that I've referenced Brandy a few times and on a few occasions as her being probably my favorite artist of all time. You know, from a vocal standpoint to a creative standpoint, she is my favorite artist. She's at the top for me. But the reason that I feel so strongly about Brandy Norwood, and the reason why she's my favorite artist today, has a lot to do with this Never Say Never album. Now, at a young age, I was always so fascinated with music, and my parents could really see that I was fascinated with music. So definitely when it came time to, you know, start finding albums for me at such a young age, of course they wanted to kind of monitor exactly what I was listening to, you know, make sure I wasn't listening to nothing crazy, but they also wanted to give me good music. And one of the first albums that they ever bought me that was my copy was Brandy's Never Say Never. Now at this time, back in 1998, Moesha was still on, and I loved Moesha. I loved that show, and I used to always watch it religiously. Once I got the album, I really started to sit down and listen to this album, and I'll never forget, at this time my parents bought me one of my first Walkmans or whatnot, so I would listen to this album with headphones on all the time and just really just run through this album from top to bottom. At this time, when I listened to this album, that's when I knew that I wanted to do something in music. And with this album, Brandy became almost like this vocal goddess to me. When you listen to just the vocal production on this album, starting off first, of course, in '94, the first Brandy album came out, and she took 4 years off before she came back with the second one. So we hadn't heard nothing from her musically in a very, you know, I guess you can call that a pretty good gap. So when she came back in '98, of course her voice had changed. She had really started to develop that kind of raspy undertone that really signified itself as the years went on with the albums like Full Moon and Aphrodisiac. But with this album, we saw that raspy Brandy tone that we love to this day. But we actually got into why people consider her to be the vocal Bible. This is the first album where we saw Brandy really just dive in to doing her very creative harmonies and layering of vocals and just layering of the backgrounds and just almost painting a picture in the song that you're listening to. I think that on this album, Brandy was very sure of herself. She was probably more sure of herself than she had ever been at that particular point. Of course, you know, her first album came out when she was 15, so of course she had to pretty much do what the label wanted her to do. But on this album, I think that, you know, Atlantic, as well as her management, you know, and her producers and all that, really trusted her to really dive in and really get in to creating a great album. Now, of course, this album wouldn't be possible without the wonderful, the creative, and the very talented Rodney Jerkins. He is the one that really made this album what it was. If Rodney Jerkins wasn't behind the helm of the Never Say Never train, I'm sorry, but this album would not have been what it is today. And Rodney Jerkins, he brought this fresh sound, and it felt like he just gelled so much with Brandy. And that's why I think to this day that their producer-artist relationship probably is one of the best ones in the business. Of course, they both have went their separate ways since then or whatnot and went on to work with other people, but nobody can really duplicate what Brandy and Rodney Jerkins had back then in 97, 98. Not to mention on this album, she was turning into a woman. You know, the first album was very green, you know, at the same time, very for the age, which was really great. So with this particular album, at this time, she's like 18, 19 when this album was created. So she basically had that adult freedom to really go in and talk about what she wanted to talk about. And on this album, I mean, you had so many layers. You had the Dark Child production on there, but also you had the David Foster production and Diane Warren production with Have You Ever, which was one of the biggest hits on the album. You had songs like Almost Doesn't Count, and we cannot forget about The Boy Is Mine. Now definitely this album wouldn't have been what it was if it wasn't for The Boy Is Mine, and if it wasn't for that so-called feud that the public thought that Monica and Brandy had with each other. That vibe and that chemistry that Monica and Brandy have and had at that time definitely made that song what it was. Now of course it was a little bit of rivalry, because let's be totally honest, they're both amazing singers in my personal opinion. And a fun fact that a lot of people probably didn't know is that Rodney Jerkins actually came out, you know, years later and said he had to, you know, remix this record at least 4 to 5 times to make it fair. And on this record, not only did it do amazing things for Brandy's career, but it also did amazing things for Monica's career, because this is probably one of the biggest songs of her career to date. She ended up naming her album The Boy Is Mine, so you know she really started piggybacking off of the success of this main record. And let's not forget that they both won a Grammy for The Boy Is Mine, which was really dope as well. And this is the only Grammy that either one of them have ever won to date in their career, which is kind of crazy, you know, because they both have had some pretty dope careers after Boy Is Mine and even before Boy Is Mine. Now getting back to Never Say Never, on this record, some of my favorite tracks was of course The Boy Is Mine, but I loved Angel in Disguise. Never Say Never was a dope one. One of my favorite tracks on this album, that is probably one of my favorite songs of all time. I can literally listen to this record anytime, any setting, any environment, and I just feel really good about it, and that is Happy. Happy was the record on the album where I just love the vocal layering. I love basically the texture of the record. I love the texture of Brandy's voice when she was singing this. And Happy was basically a song where she was talking about a guy saying that, you know, he makes her happy every time that he's around. She don't know why, but you know, it's something about him that just makes her happy. And this record was just so good. It has such an infectious beat that Dark Child produced. You add that, you know, crazy jamming R&B kind of hip-hop vibe beat on there, and you mix that in with those Brandy harmonies and Brandy vocals. I mean, this song was just probably one of the best records on the album. I cannot forget Top of the World featuring Maze, and that was a record on the album that was really dope. I don't know if y'all have ever seen the video, but I thought the video was really dope because she was kind of in the air and she was dancing or whatnot, and then they had that cut to that shot where she was on top of the building doing choreography, and I love May's part in the song. I thought that he was really dope as well. Now I could go on and on about what was my favorite record on the album and what this did for me and what that did for me, but we'll be sitting here and we'll have us a whole hour video. But just a sum of everything that I've talked about today, you know, that album Never Say Never really done a whole lot for me as far as just, you know, being young, growing up at this time when this album came out, and I took this album with me probably my whole life. It just did something for me that probably no album could do or could ever do for me, even in the near future. Now put in the comments below, tell me, what did you think about this album? Where was you at during the time that this album came out? Anything that you want to say about the album, go ahead and put it in the comments below. Now before you get out of here, please click that thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. My channel is the Manny E Corner, where I'll put up new videos all the time. As always, I'm your boy Manny Ezo. The channel is the Manny E Corner, and I'll see y'all in the next video, okay? Peace, have a blessing.